Greetings, everyone. It is Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. We are live again. We have a special guest with us. But before we get started, guys, make sure you hit that like button. Again, make sure you hit that like button. And also, I apologize about the delay. We're having some technical difficulties, but now we are up and running and rolling. And we're about to have a great show. Guys, make sure you go to dynastymirror.com. Again, make sure you go to dynastymirror.com. While you're there, kinky hair is queenly hair. Guys, again, kinky hair is queenly hair. You need to go to dynastymirror.com and grab a copy. Okay, also buy your merchandise while you're there. Like I said, it's almost 84,000 of you all, so there should be 84,000 products that should be moving. So again, guys, please go to dynastymirror.com and support. Also, tour April 21st through the 30th. Again, April 21st through the 30th, we are going to Sierra Leone. Guys, come and roll with us. We are going to have an awesome time. You guys are going to love it. So again, April 21st to the 30th, April 21st through the 30th, everyone come and roll with us. Please come and roll with us, everybody. Also, make sure patreon.com, search for Uhuru. Again, patreon.com, search for Uhuru. Become a monthly Patreon, you guys. Become a monthly Patreon. We would greatly appreciate your guys' support. So become a monthly Patreon, patreon.com. Search for Uhuru. I think that's it for the reminders. Without further ado, we have Adenike on with us today. Adenike. Ekabo.
It's effortless. Say it effortlessly, like Adenike.
Adenike. Adenike.
It's not Adenike. It's Adenike. Ade. It's like Ade, like something's got Adenike.
Adenike.
Good. That's better.
Well, that's my Western American, I'm trying
Yeah,
to lose it. I'm trying to
I
lose
know.
Adenike.
I know. Báwo
It's
ni? Ẹ káalẹ́ o. Ẹ káalẹ́ gbogbo àwọn èèyàn mi tó wà ní
no
Naija, àwọn Yorùbá àti gbogbo ẹ̀.
Ekaso.
Well, I'm in nighttime
Alatani.
here. I'm
Okay.
in nighttime here, so ekale. That's what I would say, ekale. But
Okay.
you're still
Ekale.
daytime,
Yeah,
so you
Ekaso.
say ekason, yeah.
Ekaso. So everybody,
Ṣé dáadáa ni? Ṣé dáadáa ni,
Mowa Dada,
Dynast?
Mowa Dada, Iwoinko, Adenike.
Well done, well done. That's a good try. You're not doing too bad. You're actually saying the right
I'm trying,
things.
but I'm behind. I should have learned this a long time ago. So I'm behind.
Yeah,
I'm running behind.
never
So
mind. There's always time. There's always time.
I know. Well, I need to
You need
speed
to
it
get
up.
on. Yeah,
I need
get
to
on
get
and
on.
push on, right?
Exactly. I need to push on. I need to push on.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chima Madu. So today's topic is: Are Nigerian youth really ready for change? As you know, guys, we've been having a lot of protests in Niger as far as with SARS, ending SARS, but SARS is ended. But in my honest opinion, I feel like it's just going to be shifted into like something else because I mean, obviously, they didn't get rid of the officers who were involved in SARS; they just reassigned them. So I just believe SARS is going to take on a new identity. So we'll see how that plays out. But without further ado, Adenike, go ahead.
Yes.
You are
All
go ahead and
right.
introduce yourself. And
Can you excuse me for a second because I'm trying to also watch you live as um as we're on so I can keep track of things. And oh dear, I hope I don't log myself off. Can you still hear me?
I hear you just fine.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah,
That's
I hear you just
brilliant.
fine. We hear you just fine.
All right. Okay. So I can still talk.
Yeah,
So the
go ahead.
thing is, to add to that question is, are the Nigerian youth really ready for a change? And do they comprehend? Can they comprehend, or do they realize how much sacrifice has to be made? Because this is not the first time. this is not the first rodeo. Our grandparents have been through this in terms of being colonized.
Adenike. Hello.
Sorry,
Ah,
can
yeah,
you hear me? I'm
we
sorry.
hear you now. We hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Also, I was rattling on and on, Could you hear me then? Or I have to
No,
start all
we had,
over again?
you had went out for a second. After you said your grandparents were colonized, we lost you.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm saying that they've already been through this fight. So they fought for freedom in 1960. So, well, that was when they got it. They'd been fighting for a while, and they finally got it in 1960. So to sing the song in Igbo for my Igbo people, 1960 Nigeria were independent. Okay, so with Awolowo for the western side, Odua side, representing. I just heard his daughter died this morning, so may her soul rest in peace. Up Owl, may he so rest in peace as well. So the thing is, I know this is our time. The world is aligned. So if there's any time for us to fight for freedom, I think this is it, because all around the world, I know you've seen it, you've heard it, everybody's fighting for a cause, some sort of cause, all around the world. It seems 2020 is the year for it. So this time is as good as any, but the problem is we've been through this before as Nigerians. Do we have the tenacity to stick it out? That's
So
the question.
that's the question. So what are your thoughts? Do we have the tenacity to stick it out? That's the question. Or are
Um,
people are like here in America? You'll have a protest. People will protest for 2 to 3 weeks or a month. Then they'll
yeah,
forget. Then something else will happen. They'll protest. Then they'll get
yeah,
back comfortable. Do you see that happening in Nigeria?
yeah. But diners back then, yeah. Oh gosh, where do I start? Dan, is this a wealth of information? It's like there's just so much that I I want to dive into it, but then I have to
Dive in.
provide so much so much information.
Dive
Okay,
in. Dive
but
in.
I have to bring different factors into it. So what is happening now in the world? It's all tied together. You've heard about the the 17 letters of the alphabet, which I cannot talk pronounce at the moment because everybody gets taken down because we're being censored heavily. So I do apologize, people, that you can't see me. Maybe I know some other time, probably. Uh, I don't think I'm looking my best. The thing is, you've heard of the 17 letter, of the alphabet and what is going on with the whole link to America and the campaign and the bringing down the deep state and the swamp, which is really, really dirty. And it's all over the world. And this is what leads me back to the fact that perhaps the reason we hadn't succeeded all those times was because there was always the deep state blocking us from progress. So there was always some, they had their I don't want to call all the letters, but the 3-letter words that function all around the world that were produced just solely to destabilize the world, coming out of, your United States of, America. So what I mean is, I think it's because POTUS, that's what I'm gonna call him, because I don't want to say his name. I don't want to get you shot down too. Because everybody's been censored very, very heavily. The people that are talking truth and the people that are on the side of change, because the deep state are still trying to hang on to power. They're everywhere. So before I go on, I think we should start from a happy place first of all. Let's talk about Nigeria the way it used to be.
Okay.
What do you think, Dynast?
Go ahead. Let's talk about Nigeria the way it used to be.
Okay, from what I remember, yeah, I remember when my mom used to tell me, you know, this was when the colonizers were still in the country, or they just left around, you know, the 60s, the 70s, even up till the 80s. Yeah, things were still good. We still had good infrastructure. We still had, you know, the light was still, you know, good. You know, they just built Festac, you know, for the Olympic Games, or something, in Nigeria. Things were still functioning. You had good salaries in Nigeria back then. I remember then, you know, you could buy a brand new car then, because I remember my mom, there used to be Peugeot. She used to work for Peugeot, and she bought a brand new 306 car. You know, that was in Nigeria. I remember my granddad, our foreign exchange, Nigerian Naira, because I remember you had an interview with another guy regarding the Naira and
Right.
how it used to be good.
Right.
Yeah, the Naira used to be on par with the dollar. I
Right.
remember then when we were in England, as babies, we were here with the nanny, and my granddad will send a ticket from Nigeria to, you know, to us here for us to be sent back to Nigeria for us to go and see him. I remember my mom in England, working in England here. She would finish work on Friday, jump on the plane to Nigeria, go partying, and come back on Monday morning back to work in England.
Oh
That was
wow.
how, yeah, that was how our foreign exchange was that good. That was how, you know, life was that good back then. This was, you know, so it wasn't always bad. But I think when the deep state and the oppressors, when they left, they did it in such a way that they would gradually collapse the system, gradually collapse the economy, and for a good reason. Because if the the masses, if they're happy and they're having a good life, then you can't oppress people when they're happy. You need to put them in a state of perpetual unhappiness and uncertainty um and poverty. That's how you control people, through fear. So, and also, it's not just the British that did this. So this is, so after talking about the good part now, this is leading on to where it actually all went wrong. Um, I sent you a few pictures and a few you know, clips about, you saw that treaty or agreement between the northern part and the British, the agreement they made. You know,
Right.
this is a very sensitive topic because most Nigerians, they don't like, or most Nigerians that haven't read about this topic, they don't really like talking about it because they just want to remember all the, you know, is either it's been good, 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 or we just arrived at oppression just like that. But then
Right.
how did it get here? You know, we got here by some device, and we're being kept here by some device, you know. So I have to bring Tony Inandi into this. Yeah, Dr. Tony Inandi. He did all the research and digging up, and he dug up a lot of paperwork. And all Nigerians have to do is just go and look at the paperwork. Just Google him, he's there. You can see the paperwork, he's all there, you know. But then when you see what I've seen, it would anger you. Diners, you read what I read, didn't you?
Right.
About the British, the Queen, the telegram between the Lord Harcourt. By the way, Port Harcourt was named after him.
Well,
Um,
there's a great documentary on Netflix called The African Colony that kind of deals with that, not kind of, but it deals with the early establishment of Nigeria.
mm, yeah, but then I'm trying to kind of stay clear of getting my information from places like Netflix because they're compromised as far as
It's
I'm
actually,
concerned.
but it's actually a decent. It's actually a decent. documentary. I'll highly recommend people to view it. And then let me read the super chat. Point of correction: this has never happened before in Nigeria. Nigeria has never had a protest this young and this big. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they're quite right. During our, fathers. No, actually, no, I disagree with that, because when I seen pictures of our law when he was when they were going for the meetings and they had the protest about freedom. They all looked young. They all looked young. So it's been done before. It's been done before. Perhaps I think the difference is they didn't know what they were getting themselves into. Like when the British accepted um, sitting at the table with them to talk about independence, they actually genuinely thought that they were going to get independence. They didn't realize that while they were negotiating the independence, so that means Awolowo representing the West. I forgot who represented. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe represented the East. Yeah, and then Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa represented the North. I remember then. They all had a say. They all were in agreement. But then the problem, which is where the problem arose, was whilst they all thought they had a say in it, while they all had that agreement, the northern people were doing their own agreement with the British, because the northerners had felt entitled to Nigeria. And the only way you can understand this is you need to go and do your research. Yeah. I'm going to give you some brief information, but then you're still going to disagree with me. For those who haven't seen it, you're still going to disagree with me that this is not true. But you need to understand how the lay of the land was when we were subjugated. So the northerners on top were never conquered. They were up north. They had always been warriors and fighters. They had their own horses. I've done a video about this on my
Nah,
YouTube
but
page.
like on the Netflix documentary, I mean, the British came in and slaughtered the North, and then the North just kind of just gave
You
in.
see, no. See, this is what I'm talking about. They're not. This is why I don't really like watching anything from the perspective of a biased media such as Netflix, because they always report to suit their own agenda. Their documentations that clearly shows that the caliphate in Kano had a wall around the city of Kano. Didn't have all those little states that are outside it now. Before, all the states were all inside the wall of Kano. And if you go and look, whoever lives in Kano will agree with me with this, that the wall is so vast that they couldn't get in. When there was no way the
Guys, again, hit that like button. And from what I didn't care when I from the documentary, the British went to war with the North, and the North pretty much said, "Hey, as long as we can practice Islam, we're good."
new to the road of conquering. They'd been conquering all the way from the other direction, from the Sahara, So they've been fighting and fighting till they got to where they were, which is, Sokoto, Kanu, around that side. Their plan.
Uh-oh. Guys, if you want to call in, email is uhuru@searchforuhuru.com. Uhuru@searchforuhuru.com. Again, if you want to call in, email is uhuru@searchforuhuru.com. It's in the chat room. Send me an email and I will forward you the link. Again, send me an email and I will forward you the link, everyone. Again, send me an email and I will forward you the link, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Greatly appreciate it. It really means a lot on this Friday afternoon. Nice and sunny here in Atlanta. I will be back in Africa next month, headed to Sierra Leone. Everyone headed to Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, maybe, and Senegal. After Wahala, go ahead, bro.
Hey, bro, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me, brother.
No problem.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so there is a lot I have to say today.
Go ahead.
With
Take it. Go
yeah,
ahead.
with regards to the protests. Um, I don't know if people know why the protest started in the first place. You know, it had to do with police brutality
Right.
through SARS, and SARS was just a manifestation of all the institutions in Nigeria, pretty much. The same behavior that is in SARS is the same behavior across the board. So no matter what institution you find yourself in, that same corruption with impunity is there. It's prevalent. I mean, you're not going to go through the system without escaping some sort of corrupt behavior, sometimes with impunity. And you know, when I keep saying impunity, I mean, you don't care about what is coming back to you. You don't care about the consequences. You don't care about the repercussions because you know nothing is going to happen. The difference with SARS and why SARS got so powerful and went out of control is because SARS kills people. They have guns. You know, they have guns, they kill people, and they've killed so many people over time, and people got frustrated. Check this out, man. Right now, ASU is on strike. ASU means Association of um, Lecturers, Student Union, some Association of Lecturers. Anyways, whenever ASU goes on a strike, it means that the federal universities have to shut down, which means millions of students can't go back to school. And ASU has been on a strike for a long time, which means a lot of students are not in school. So easily, you have a lot of people that have nothing else to do but to go out there to protest. They are already frustrated. They have nothing else to do at home. They don't even have lights at home to keep themselves entertained by watching TV or staying on the internet. Why wouldn't they go out there to protest?
Mm-hmm.
So now the thing is, the protest is not going to stop until there it moved, like there is a major change. There is a real change, a tangible change, as opposed to what we've done in the past. Someone sent a super chat earlier talking about this particular protest is the largest in terms of its magnitude in the history of Nigeria. I want to disagree because the Occupy Nigerian protest that happened in 2012, that was just as big. And it lasted.
After a while, let me ask you this, not to cut you off. So what came from, like, what tangibles, what came from the actual Occupy Nigeria protest?
So the Occupy Nigerian protest, the reason why people took to the streets then was because the government increased the price of fuel from, I believe it was from 97 naira to 197. So that was over 100% increase. They just came on the news one day and they were like, hey guys, we're going to increase the price of fuel and there's nothing you can do about it. So the price of fuel is going from 97 naira to 197. When that happened, that affected the price of everything else. Price of accommodation, price of transportation, price of food in the market. The price of rice, bag of rice back in those days was probably 10,000 naira. It jumped up to like 20 grand. Right now, as I speak, it's like 45,000 naira.
Oh, wow.
Now, that short inflation, that short increase in price caused an inflation. Everything else went up. So everybody was affected. People took to the streets in no time. Same thing, the same ingredients that made that protest successful was social media and pretty much social media, Twitter, because everybody was tweeting, and all of a sudden, people gathered in Lagos, and it spread like wildfire. This protest spread across the entire country. The airports were shut down, the government buildings were shut down, the country was held to a standstill. And when that happened, the government was forced to budge. they reduced the price from 197 naira to 145 naira. When that happened, everybody left the streets, went back to their houses. It took 11 days of protesting for that to be accomplished. But the mistake that the people made was they should have stepped it up to the next level, because that wasn't the root cause of that increase. That increase on itself is impunity. Because if you think about the fact that you as a government, right, you don't increase the salaries of the people, you don't improve the standard, the basic amenities for the people, and all of a sudden, you decide to increase the price of fuel by over doubling the price. People took to the streets. Okay, you decide to bring back the price down. You disperse people from the streets. Everybody goes back to their normal business. The root cause of that increase in fuel from the government is that impunity culture that we have. The government don't care about the people. They will literally, even though it's a democracy, right? They will literally tell you that we're going to increase the price of oil and there's nothing you can do about it, even though you guys are living poor. How does that make any sense? But anyways, this time around, people are more awoken. And now that they're in the streets, they started off with End SARS. Like I said earlier, SARS is a representation of all the institutions in Nigeria. I'm talking about ASU strike, for example. Look at ASU. ASU goes on a strike whenever they want to go on a strike. They go on a strike 2 times in a year sometimes. Sometimes, in order for you to complete a 4-year university bachelor's program, it takes you 5.5 years. You spend a year and a half doing nothing at home because ASU is on strike. So all that built up pressure, frustration from youth, now they know that even though the government changed SARS to SWAT, whatever the hell that means,
right,
that is not a solution. The real solution is that corruption with impunity that needs to be destroyed. The thing is, people need to be held accountable whenever they are engaged in corruption. I don't know if you remember that clown, the guy that heads the NDDC, some professor. That guy is literally the dumbest professor I have ever seen in my life. This guy is accused of misappropriating billions of naira, and he decides to faint on national TV.
mm-hmm.
People are supposed to change the protest to, can we have a transparent investigation on the case with that professor? Can we have a transparent investigation with the case of politicians that are currently on ground that have evidences against them of corruption, of siphoning money? Because these are the real problems. That's why people are not leaving the streets. It's not about SARS. SARS is just an organization that is part of the system, and they had guns and they killed a lot of people, and it's not going to end. Before SARS came into existence, there was mobile police, MOPOs. MOPOs were doing the same. Anyways, this time around, I hope the people are going to be able to take it to the next level, change the hashtags from End SARS, End SWAT, change it to prosecute corrupt public office holders, past and present, end corruption culture, end nepotism, end corruption with impunity.
All right, brother Faye.
Hey, hi, Dinas. Thanks for having me on the show. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to go back a little bit, back into the 80s when Nigeria was such a good country then. I was in secondary school in the 80s, and everything was, Nigeria was really working fine, at least to the best of my knowledge, you know. University students, then you get about $500 as bursary in the university, and with your $500, you can buy yourself a Volkswagen Beetle. I don't know if you guys know that car sells for about 1,500 naira back then, you know. But our problem started. I think it was after Gowon was overthrown. There was a botched coup. Back then, Gowon was a president. There was a Bochku from Dimka. I was Lieutenant Colonel Dimka, you know, but he didn't succeed. And General Obasanjo came as a president. Nigeria was so good that Nigeria started spending money. They organized the festival of art and culture and all that. So when Obasanjo was to return power back to the civilian government, that was in 1979. There was an election. Normally, because Obasanjo is a Yoruba guy, I think there was a conspiracy or something. He didn't want to return that power back to a Yoruba guy. That's the Awolowo guy, the lady, the Adenike talked about. So he now had to return power to the north, and he gave Shagari power back then. That was in 1979. The Shagari ruled from 1979 to 1983, I guess. Excuse me.
Okay. Guys, hit that like button again. Please hit that like button as you come to the chat room. Please, again, guys, please hit that like button. It helps us out.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Okay, the power was returned back to the north, but the civilian government then was so corrupt. The government was so corrupt that politicians were keeping millions of nairas in their home. The northern, they weren't doing anything for the country. Then Buhari came. It was a coup d'etat. Buhari came with there was a general, there was another general, General Idi Agbon back then. And they were ready, they were really like ready to like make Nigeria work again.
Oh, I think brother froze on us.
There were guys that were dealing in drug, they had to kill them and all that. In Nigeria, if you had to go to the bank, you have to queue up. To go into the bus, you had to queue up. Nigeria was like getting on the right track. And everybody was like liking it, but the military junta, I mean the military, the guys in the military then, they did not like it because they want the corruption to continue. So they had to, they had to overthrow him in 1983. He spent only 1 year. You know, if they had allowed that guy back then to rule Nigeria for about 2-3 years, he was young, he was vibrant, he was ready to do all, you know, to put Nigeria back on the right track. I could remember back then.
Freddie, you keep freezing up on us, brother.
When Buhari overthrown the government, this guy escaped to the United States. Buhari and his government, they had to track this guy back to the United States. They put him in a crate. They were ready to struggle him back. I mean, they were ready to smuggle him back into Nigeria, but things happened and it was botched. So the British government seized the Nigerian Airways plane at the Heathrow Airport in London. These guys were so determined, and back then in Nigeria, they seized, as a retaliation, they seized a British Caledonia plane in Nigeria in retaliation and said, if you're not releasing our plane, we ain't releasing your plane, you know? But there were guys in the military back then, the General Ibrahim Babangida and the Abacha that later became a president as well. They were not comfortable with it because they were as well corrupt. They were corrupt. They had to overthrow him. And that was when the problem of Nigeria started. That was exactly at that point when Babangida came as a president, as a head of state of Nigeria. That was when the problem of Nigeria started, because then corruption was like free for all. You know, this Yahoo things that the people are talking about now, that was when it started. Guys can really go into the federal government office. You can sit down there and act like you are a military personnel or you're someone or you're someone in the government and you can like talk to a white man or whatever all over the world and say, okay, you are a government official, you are awarding a contract and this and that, and you can get money from the foreign firms, you know. I mean, but it was all a scam back then. He decided to return after 8 years ago. I think he decided to return.
Bro, they keep freezing up on us. Again, guys, hit that like button. Come to the channel.
They don't want him to be. They don't want him to be. They don't want him to be president because everybody across board, from the north, from the west, from the east, everybody's voted for this man, but it was truncated because they never wanted him to be the president. So Abacha came. Abacha died on the throne. I mean, being the president, he died. So Abdul Salam came. Abdul Salam decided to return back to the civilian government. So because Abiola now being a Yoruba man, they said, okay, if we're going to return to civilian rule, we want to appease the Yoruba folks so that they don't feel that, okay, because Abiola died and they didn't, I mean, he was supposed to be the president and he didn't get to be there. So we're going to return power back to the South. So that was when Obasanjo came. When Obasanjo came, I left Nigeria then because I left Nigeria in 96. Things, I don't know, things weren't that good. Obasanjo came, Yaradua came, he died. What's the other guy's name? Jonathan came, and that was when Nigeria really fell. That was when Nigeria really fell. Everybody's talking about Buhari and Buhari and Buhari. Buhari, I'm going to tell you this for free. Buhari was and is never a corrupt president. But the guys working under him, maybe now he's an old man. He couldn't take the actions that he took back then in 1983. Now I think it's about 78 or thereabout. He couldn't take the action that he took back then as a military president. Because now we're in democracy. Before you do things, you have to like consult. You have to appease this part of the. You have to appease every political associates and all that. I think that was something that never gave him the chance to like really fix the country the way he had wanted to. He tried to be the president of Nigeria 4 times. The 4th time, that was when he was able to like get power. But I think when he got the power, he now became a very weak man. You know, people are accusing him of sectional and all that. But I can tell you, Buhari is an upright man. He is an upright man. He got his own fault. And he said to everybody, I can only put people in positions, the people that I know that I can work with. And one thing about us Nigerians is that
and the brother keeps freezing up. Faye,
we do not really look for the best to rule us or the best to put in place. But we're always talking about, oh, this person is not from our part of the country, that man is not from our part of the country. We don't look for it. We're always looking for this quota system, and which really doesn't work for us. For me, I don't care if you're from the north, you're from the south, you're from the east, or you're from the west. Once you can do the job, I want that job to be given to you. I don't care if you're from my clan or you're not from our tribe or you're from a different tribe, you know? And that's exactly what the problem of Nigeria is. Everybody is corrupt. Right now, everybody is corrupt. And in Nigeria, even the ones now that are protesting, that are saying, end sirs, end sirs, end sirs. An average Nigerian is an oppressor. Let me tell you that, Dynast. An average Nigerian, everybody in Nigeria wants to get money. You want to have money so you can oppress the next person, you know? Because Nigeria is a place you go if you have a little money, someone, your neighbor offends you, you You know, I want SARS to, I really want SARS to, I really want SARS to go. I don't like what they're doing to the citizens in Nigeria and all that. But before we address the problem of SARS, we have to address the problem that we have within ourselves, you know. You know, because it's a country of the oppressors.
Yeah, Faye. Let's Faye, to Nigel. Go ahead, to Nigel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I think Faye spoke well regarding some of the trends that has happened in Nigeria, and personally, I agree with him on Buhari, because Buhari doesn't seem like he even cares about being president. Every time you see him, he's looking at the exit. He wants to go because he's a kind of guy that doesn't crave power as much, and so, but the people around him is the issue. And there is also the aspect that Nigerians themselves tend to be a little bit hypocritical about things. And about where I disagree with Faye is that when he said every Nigerian wants to be an oppressor, you know, because for me, the way I see Nigerians, I believe Nigerians are the most ambitious, the most hardworking, the most creative, Africans out there, and they are proud Africans. So where their fault is that they tend to focus sometimes on the wrong things. They will say they are poor, they are corrupt. They focus on corruption like an obsession. Yeah, they really do. It's like the moment they talk about the problem of Nigeria, they think it's corruption that is the first thing. Every country in the world is corrupt. They have different ways of manifesting them. Where the issue is coming from is the capital flight that happens in Nigeria, and the fact that Nigerians are not making anything. We have to start manufacturing stuff so that we can be getting foreign income. We rely only on natural resources, which is a losing game, because even the oil that we sell, we don't even refine it in Nigeria most of the time, at least for the couple of decades now. When we sell the oil overseas, they come and sell it back to us. In the end, we are losing.
Right. So
when about the topic at hand, about the NSAS movement and everything, I am all for it, especially when you hear citizens calling for the police officers to be paid more. Can you imagine in the US people protesting for the US officers to be paid more? They're talking about defunding the police here in the US. So, but in Nigeria they are doing the opposite, because they know. I think when I heard the amount they pay some of these SARS officers, I think it's actually criminal. They pay them about 10,000, 11,000 naira. It's not even up to 50 pounds, $50 a month for people with a gun.
Come on, well, hold on. One more time. How much do they get paid?
Less than $50
a month.
Yes.
The minimum wage in Nigeria is like $130 a month.
That is Virtue Grace read it out. Virtue Grace read it out, and they say this is what they are paying some of the SARS officers.
I don't think that's true.
This is why people are complaining that they should pay them more. So if they are paying them that low, I think it's almost criminal to pay people with a gun that way. To the point whereby when they harass you, they tell you to take them to the cash machine to withdraw money from the cash machine. You see, this is where sometimes I feel like, I'm not the kind of person that like to bash leaders because I'm not sitting in their chair, because sometimes it's easy to just criticize that. But this is where I think leaders are really failing Nigerians. Because how hard can it be to recruit people and just pay them reasonable rates? Because they're offering value that will bring business into the country. If they are going to secure the country, business is going to flow in. So this is where our leaders are seriously failing. And I think this is where the protesters are doing the right thing. My only concern is that we have seen protests in the world being hijacked. We have seen it in the Arab Spring. We have seen it in Hong Kong, so many different parts of the world where you have a protest and then some forces just come in and hijack the intentions of the protest, and before you know it turns sour. So the whoever is, they say that there's no leadership, but we have to have clear demands like increasing police salaries. I think that will have a lasting impact on the way Nigerians see themselves and the way they relate to law enforcement. And I believe that's also going to help business. If you have good law enforcement, you would by default you just reduce corruption that Nigerians hate so much, and it also encourage business environment, because business likes security. It's just that simple. So I support the movement, but we have to be careful, because I've started hearing some people saying something about, oh, this is not the end of our demand. We are going to keep making demands. Take your win and step back. Because what tends to happen is that you push, then it leads to bloodshed. Because the system is not ready for people to be, protesting continuously on and on and on. It's not like the Hong Kong police that tolerated protests for 6 months. So that's my contribution. People just have to be careful that this movement is not hijacked. And obviously, they're going to look into how they're going to pay the police officers. If they do that, I think that will be a lasting impact from this thing. I think it's going to make a big change than people realize right now, than SWAT or whatever.
Okay. African Wally, want to add to this?
Yes. Okay, so I'm not trying to debate, but I'm just trying to say what millions of Nigerians think. I'm not 100% perfect, but you think about this. Nigeria claims to be the giant of Africa, the country with the largest economy, the most thriving country on the continent of Africa, the so-called big brother of other countries in Africa. If that is the case, can anybody explain to me why, even though we've been independent for 60 years, we still rely on everybody else? I'm talking about, we rely on the United States of America, we rely on the European Union, on China, on Latin America. Whenever there is a project, whenever we have a raw material, like the oil, we rely on Chevron, Mobil, Shell. All these companies are European and American, non-Nigerian companies.
Well,
to help us.
That should change with the new refinery, right?
Okay, when is that new refinery getting done? This is a weird situation. How come a country cannot maintain one refinery to be working in 60 years of oil exploration, while one individual with his friends are able to build a bigger refinery that is bigger than any other refinery in the country? How come that is the case? That is where corruption with impunity comes in. No matter what anybody says, that, oh, we don't have to count, we don't have to demand for more, or we can just accept this win and let it go. How can we accept this win and let it go? The last time we did that, where did we end up? We are back here again. The last time they reduced the price of fuel, right? And then people took off the streets. Everybody went back to their normal businesses. We are back here again. So now you're telling us that we should accept SARS has been disbanded. Oh, we've won. Everybody go back to your houses. What happens to the millions of youths that can't go back to university because ASU is on strike?
You see, I understand your point.
What else no, this is not an argument to you, my brother. To Niger. No, you don't need to respond. It's food for thought. Yeah. Everybody can think about it and, come to your own surmise. My point is, we need to tackle the root cause of all these problems, and that is corruption with impunity. People here are saying, oh, Buhari is not a corrupt individual. He hasn't proven to be corrupt in the past. Why did he contest 3 times to become the president when he knows he has no clue how to run a country with 200 million people? Why are you trying to ruin the lives of 200 million people? You don't have a clue of what you're going to do when you get there, but you keep on contesting. You failed the first time. 4 years later, you're like 70 years old. You contest again, you fail. Then you come back the third time. Now you're like 74. You contest and then you win. It's a joke, bro. That is corruption with impunity right there. In a normal system, that kind of guy should not even be there. What is he doing there? And then you bring me Atiku for me to select between Atiku and Buhari. That's a joke, man. We need to tackle corruption with impunity. If we can do that, all these other institutions will be getting fixed. We need to arrest past public office holders yeah, that have evidences against them, have a thorough investigation. If that can be done, then we are joking as a country. I know that looks like a pipe dream at this point because, I mean, look at the track record of the judiciary system. It's trash. It's the current head of the judiciary. There are so many allegations against him. The guy works hand in hand with the president. So you can't even get justice from that kind of country. And then you're telling me that we should just accept our win and just let it go. No, we can't. We are wasting our time. It's either we restructure the country, have a total overhaul, or we are going to continue wallowing in this mess for a long time. Forget about all. There is no victory yet.
You see, I understand where you're coming from, you know, and I understand the passion and how you feel. It's born out of frustration from everything that has been happening. But however, the way I look at it is this is from everything that has happened and the examples we've seen in the world. And if you look at Syria, you look at Egypt, look at all the places where that's had uprisings like this. The leaders do buy their time. They will buy their time, and if it doesn't stop, sometimes it leads to something worse. And Nigeria, believe you me, has a lot of potential for anarchy, given the nature of the country itself. This is why you said something about why Buhari, you know, why did he have to run multiple times? Maybe because he felt he had something to offer. Personally, some of the noises that I'm hearing from Nigeria, I find them a little bit comforting as things that Nigerians don't pay attention to, but are very important. One of the laws Buhari wanted to pass was this hate speech law, and Nigeria went up in arms. The UK has hate speech law. The US has hate speech law. Almost every civilized country has hate speech law. But a country with 500 languages, with 240 something ethnic groups, they don't want hate speech law when it's so easy to divide each other. So Buhari was making a very, very good, he makes very, very good moves like that, and everybody just pounds on him and say, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Till today, that bill hasn't been passed. Nigeria needs to, if they had that kind of hate speech law, do you know what it does for the country? It holds the country together. Because now, any divisive voices will be suppressed. But he's not a military leader anymore. He said it the other day that when he was in the military, he throws people in the jail and everything. People said they didn't like it. They didn't even give him 1 year. They kicked him out. Now everybody's calling him Baba go slow. That's the word he used. That people are calling him Baba go slow because he's moving everything slowly. This is why he doesn't come on TV all the time. So he is a man of few words. But if you ask me, he does have his faults, but his heart is in the right place.
My brother, he's not fit for that job. That man needs to resign. He needs to go to his retirement home. We are sick and tired of him. He has nothing to contribute to the progression of Nigeria, period.
He's making progress.
Nigerians,
see.
I don't actually hate this guy because he's not corrupt. To be honest, Buhari is not a corrupt person. You cannot pinpoint any form of corruption to Buhari, but the people that surround him, absolutely terribly corrupt. And if we say Buhari is not corrupt because he does not directly steal money, he's still corrupt because he allows people to manipulate him. You can't tell me those people are outsmarting him. Why then do you choose to be the president of a volatile country like Nigeria with 200 million people when you know you're going to be allowing people to manipulate you? There is no excuse. Buhari is like Donald Trump's age. Even though a lot of people view Donald Trump as absolutely retarded, he sounds 1 million times smarter than Buhari.
Come on. Trump is not totally stupid. That I agree.
We are sick and tired of this dude. Not only Buhari was a failure. Obasanjo was a failure. IBB was a failure. Jonathan was a failure. They've all been failures.
Hold on. See, I think the way you are being too harsh. You see, when maybe you sit on the chair, then you know. You are being a little bit too harsh. Nigerians are tough people to rule. I can tell you that now. Look at the fuel issue that you were talking about the other day. When they increase the fuel price, I don't like the way they increase it by 100% in one go. In the UK here, they increase this in tube fares by about 10% every year. That is how Nigerians should do it. It's the way they apply things. If they did that 10% every year, by now, they would have increased it up to 300% even. But overnight, they would just spring it up. That is the issue there. However, Nigeria is paying very little. Nigerians are paying too little for petrol. We buy petrol cheaper than the Saudi Arabians buy it. Yes, we don't earn as much. That is what every Nigerian says. We don't earn as much. But there are also poor people everywhere else.
Okay, check this out, bro. We claim to be the largest oil exporting country out of Africa. We claim to be the giant of Africa. We claim to be a smart country. How come till this day we still rely on all these European countries and North American countries and China to help us generate revenue?
They all rely on each other too. The American
No, we
buy from
rely on them
China.
90%. This is like you being a child and you're relying on your parents to feed you.
The
This
reason
is
why
exactly what it is.
you want me
Because
to
check
answer
this
you
out. Check
directly.
this
You
out.
want me to answer
Do
you
you
directly.
know that the refineries, Shell, Chevron, and Mobil, which are European and American companies, they are in charge of 90% of oil exploration, oil exportation, and refining, the refining process. They export the crude oil to their countries, sell us back the refined products, right? And then in the process, Nigeria loses so much money. They make all the profits. Then they tell us stuff like, "Oh, you guys are paying cheap money for gas." Nigeria happens to be the only oil exporting country that imports gasoline.
Wahala, you're exaggerating.
I'm
Shell,
exaggerating.
yeah, the parent company of Shell is owned by Europeans, but in Nigeria, that Shell Nigeria
Yes,
is
because they
managed
signed a partnership
and
with
owned by
Nigerian companies.
Nigeria.
But what is the percentage that belongs to the Nigerian companies?
I'm pretty sure
And,
it's
and what is the
majority
face?
stake. At
What is the
least
face of the
40%.
Nigerians in those companies?
He's the CEO. The CEO of Shell Nigeria is a Nigerian. You're
Okay.
exaggerating.
So what percentage of Shell Nigeria actually belongs to Nigerians?
I would say at least 40%. It could
No,
be
it's
up
right
to
there. It's 40%. Go on their website. It's 40%. But I
Okay.
guarantee you, are you guys listening to this? We rely 90% of our revenue is from oil exploration and exportation, right?
Yes.
The companies that dig the oil out of the ground and sell it to the rest of the world, they gave us 40%. Now, out of the 40%, we are still losing so much because a bunch of clowns in politics, in leadership roles, they have, oh my goodness.
Listen,
I need to calm
there's
down.
plenty of indigenous oil.
Bro,
and
there
gas
is no way you can
companies in
there's no way
Nigeria.
you can break this.
I'm
We are
not,
losing.
I don't fundamentally disagree
110%
with you,
losing.
but
Don't
exaggerate.
be on their side, bro. We're
I'm
all
not-
suffering
listen,
consequences of this.
Listen, I just wanted to clear up that there's plenty of indigenous oil and gas companies in Nigeria.
And they are just marketers. That's all they are. All they do is buying and selling oil. Do they drill?
Yes.
Do you find local companies in the oil sands?
Yes, they do. Yes,
they go go under the sea and they get the oil out.
Yes,
is that what you're saying?
They do. Amni Oil is a driller. Fuller Runcho, Alakija, the richest.
How many percent of oil drillers are local?
It's not a high percentage. I'll give you that. But it's
there is no excuse for this, bro. This is 60 years of independence.
Well,
what are we saying here? How can we be the most powerful country in Africa and 80% of our revenue is generated for us by foreigners?
80% of the government's revenue, not the economy. Oil is only 10% of the Nigerian economy. It's not. It's important, but it's not the whole economy.
All right, I don't want to deviate too much from the point.
Okay,
the point is, are the youths ready for the revolution? I hope they are. I can't guarantee because sometimes so many issues can sway the protest and things can die off quickly. Like the other time, we only lasted on the streets for 11 days in occupied Nigeria and everybody had to go back to their houses. This time around, it's day 9. So let's hope it passes 11 days. If it passes 11 days, then we'll keep hoping it keeps going forward because man, it's difficult. We're going to stage a protest tomorrow.
Let me make a point on that. The issue with the protest is the military is going to come in. If you look at what happened in Sudan, they had a successful protest. They got that guy out of power. Same thing in Egypt. The problem was that the military came in and took over the power vacuum. And if the protests are successful in Nigeria, if we get this government out of power, all that's going to happen is that the military will come in, which is a Hausa Fulani-dominated organization. In fact, I would say that the military indirectly is what is ruling Nigeria today. And that's
guess what?
what we have to address. That's the
My,
elephant in
my
the
bro,
room.
my bro Willie, you know what's another embarrassing thing? Each time you talk about the military, bro, it's such a joke, man. There are so many things to counter what anybody says about Nigeria. How can you be the giant of Africa, 60 years of independence, but your military is 100% dependent on what you buy from the United States, from the European Union, and from China? Because we
Hello,
don't know how to
hello,
manufacture
African
food.
Wahala, African
We don't know
Wahala.
how to
Hello,
manufacture
hello.
food.
You have to hear yourself when you say these things. Hold on, please. You have to hear yourself when you say these things. You are smart enough. You've seen so many movies and so many scenes where people tell you follow the money. There is a reason why these things are happening in Africa frequently. And this is why you have to be very careful when you start talking about protests and all the stuff, because there's nobody to secure the protest properly. Foreign interests could come in and cause problems.
No,
Have,
we need to,
yes, they
no,
can.
no.
Yes, they can.
Look. One thing that Black people in
Nothing
general need
stops
to
them
do
because I
is
will do the same thing.
stop blaming the outside for everything.
Man,
We
you
know
guys are
the
Keep saying that.
problem.
Keep
The
saying
problem.
that, okay? Keep saying that. That is going to solve your problem. Look at every country that has managed to get their act together. If you don't secure your environment before any kind of craziness starts, like China was able to take 6 months to 1 year of protests in Hong Kong last year because they were able to sustain it. But if other forces can come in and influence your country, believe you me, you are running a serious risk, especially at this time when
Which
African Americans
country?
are coming back. See, hold on, please. The diaspora, they are returning back to Africa right now. And we are looking at a situation whereby one of the most populous countries in Africa, as a matter of fact, the most populous country in Africa, might degenerate into instability. You have to be careful here.
The country is already unstable. Fulani herdsmen are running around killing people at
It
random.
can be worse.
What can be worse than this?
Do you know how many people that die in the US
Nothing can
every
be
year?
worse than this.
See, this is the thing
When
about
I heard
Nigerians.
you,
You have
when
to
I
be
heard you
careful.
last night, I
Stop
knew
it.
you were
Just
soft.
stop it. Do you know how many people die in the US every year?
Bro,
Do you know how many from gun violence every year? Over 30,000. How many people die in Nigeria every year from that? See, sometimes Nigerians, you guys have to, you say you are smart, but you have to use your brain.
what part of Nigeria are you from?
I'm from Nigeria. What does it matter? Is
If
it
you're
not?
from the north,
Hey,
it
Dinah,
matters because
I have a
you're
question for
trying
you,
to
bro.
cover up the
Hold on,
fact that Hausa Fulani herdsmen are running around killing people at random. There's a full-blown insurgency in Borno State. That is not normal. The country has been deteriorating. It cannot get worse than that. It can only get better.
Now you answer me this. The Nigerian government goes, the full-scale insurgency that you are talking about, the Nigerian government goes, talks to them and say, please come and talk peace with us. Let's have a peace agreement. Why do you think they never agree?
Because
Why do you think any group that wants to have a say in government never wants peace? Why? You guys, you have to have your heads, you have to think. Ask yourself,
Hey,
why
brother.
Boko Haram don't want to make peace?
look,
Hey,
I would
brother,
not be
Twin,
surprised
please,
if
let me
Boko
just
Haram is not
quickly ask.
funded
Let me
by
ask
another
one question real quick.
hold on, Willie. Go ahead,
Please.
African Wallace. Go ahead. Which
Yeah.
question?
So, I'm just gonna say a few things, and I'll just leave, right? So, honestly, I'm so passionate about Nigeria. Sometimes I need to control my emotions. I know that for sure.
No, you should.
But then when I think about when I think about the situation on ground, it's so hurtful that we've lost so much of our potentials. But it's not over. We are still going to rise. Now, my question is, as an independent country, we rely on foreign countries, like I was saying earlier, to help us generate revenue. We rely on foreign countries to help us with agricultural equipment. I'm talking about tractors, the basic things that we need to feed our own people. We have to buy these things from China, EU, North America. We rely on foreign companies for our own security, the equipment, weapons and stuff. We always run on Twitter begging the United States, hey, can you guys sell us Apache helicopters? The US is going to be like, oh, we're not going to sell you guys because you guys have a bad human rights track record. And then they run to China, hey, China, sell us helicopters, or they run to Russia. So we are always at the mercy of the rest of the world. And yet we are the giant of Africa. So that speaks volume about where we are today. And one of the reasons why that is the case is because in Nigeria, we've allowed corruption, nepotism, corruption with impunity to thrive, to grow its wings into the fabrics of our society. And that is what this current protest is about. This current protest is about the destruction of that corruption as much as possible.
Right.
Okay. Once we can get that done, man, we're going to move forward. And trust me, many African countries are going to move forward as well.
With everything going on in the continent right now, there is the African Free Trade Area coming through. You see, Nigerians should be patient. There's a lot of things happening in the background that is going to improve the lives of every African. I've been to Nigeria. I've seen a lot of improvement. Maybe Nigerians themselves there may not notice it. Obviously, things are hard for them. They may not notice it, but I've seen a lot of improvement in Nigeria when I go there. So Lagos is made up of about 20 million people. The streets is still functional, even if it's a little bit dysfunctional, but it's still functional. A lot of people are doing a lot of good things out there, and we all dismiss them.
Not to interrupt you, but I've told people, I mean, with the high population of Lagos being over 20 million people, it's one of the most functional large cities that I've ever been to.
Dynasty, you haven't been to Abuja. If you saw how Abuja looks compared to Lagos, you would understand that Lagos is a sewer. It doesn't even compare. There's been no investment in Lagos for the last 20 years. All of that money goes to Abuja. The light rail, it's not completed yet. They've been working on that for like 20 years. They're supposed to, look at the airport. For such a large city, look at the airport. Look at Ikeja.
I agree with you with the airport. I can agree with you on the airport. But again, for Lagos to be the size that it is one of the most functional large cities I've been to. Like, listen, I'd rather be in Lagos than New York City.
Okay, but where is the light rail? Where is the subway system? Where is the sanitation?
See, this is not happening overnight. Nigerians are a tough customer to
is not investing in Lagos. Lagos makes up 60% of Nigeria's economy. It should look like New York, in my opinion. I get that it could be worse, but for the amount of revenue that is generated from that area, it should be way better than it is. And the reason why it's not is because the federal government is not investing in it.
Okay, Willie, who owns the rail tracks and trains in New York?
You tell me.
Private enterprise. Most of the trains in the world tend to be owned by private enterprise. And what happens to private enterprise? What do they want? They want to make profit. Do you think a Western company or even a medium-sized economy will want from that economy? Somebody will come from there and say they want to invest in Nigeria, let's say for rail. Why would they be able to do that? They can't be able to do that because Nigerians can't afford the fares.
Listen, that's okay. Look, hold on.
They can't afford the fares because it's too expensive for Nigerians to pay.
In most countries, utilities and public services like that are co-owned between the government and a private company that operates them. It's not wholly privatized because it has to be subsidized. I don't think that New York and a lot of American cities actually even profit from their subway systems.
Exactly. So now Nigerian government has to subsidize another industry again. After they have subsidized the oil industry that Nigerians are complaining about, they have to subsidize another one again coming in. It's a tough environment. If there has to be a transitional period whereby we as Nigerians have to tighten our belt and say, okay, we are going to chew grass, but we're going to get to the promised land.
No,
we've been chewing grass for 60 years, man.
We've just been cussing.
Tired of chewing grass. 60 years of chewing grass. That's too much.
Soft because senators.
I'm not soft anything.
No, you are soft as fucking pudding, man. Senators in Nigeria make up to $50,000 a month.
Listen, bro. Senators in Nigeria make 29.5 million naira a month. That is like $80,000 a month. Senators in Nigeria make $80,000.
Yeah, but two Nigerians here saying that common Nigerians should tighten their belts and eat grass.
No. You're missing my point. Let me tell you something. So there's something you are missing here. What I see in Nigeria when I went there was that all our amenities are very, very cheap. Like this month, the amount I paid for, let's say, a whole compound with 4 bedrooms and everything was equivalent to about £12. So How does that kind of economy get from there to being on par with other countries?
Well,
You
look,
tell me, how do you get there?
on the oil subsidy issue, I don't disagree with you. I don't believe in subsidizing consumption. We like subsidizing a rail line. That's one thing. Subsidizing consumption is a terrible policy, and I'm glad they got rid of it. I hope the government can keep it going. If you listen to the former central bank governor, I forgot his name. Uh, he's from the north. I forgot his name, but he basically made the point that that policy was bankrupting Nigeria to an extent. You can't sell oil and then import it again and then subsidize it. It's too much outflow.
Well, are
Subsidize.
you talking about the former mayor of Kano? Was
Yes,
it Kano
yes,
or
yes.
Sansu? Right?
Sanusi, yeah. Yeah, subsidizing consumption is bad economic policy. All that does is let people who have cars, which is for the most part the wealthier people, just it subsidizes them because that's who's using the oil for the gasoline to drive around. There's too many cars in Nigeria. I agree. Subsidizing consumption is a bad policy. The streets are already clogged with cars, and it's just no. Subsidize electricity, yes, that's what China does. Subsidize public utilities, yes, that's good economic policy. Subsidize production, not
What
consumption.
people forget is that what people also forget is that what happened to the price of oil in the last this in 6-7 years. The price of oil has crashed. In the midst of all this, we had COVID-19 on top of it. So the frustration that Nigerians are feeling right now is partly from those changes that has happened, and Buhari's hands are tied, given everything, because the resources that he used to get before is not coming through anymore. So we take it that it is his performance that is causing it, but in reality, he's not getting as much money come through. And if he says he wants to borrow money, Nigerians will be up in arms. How dare you borrow money to come and fix the economy? How dare you borrow money to come and fix our health care system?
Listen, man, they're borrowing money to pay their own salaries. That's the problem. They're borrowing money to waste on salaries and corruption. That's why we don't want them to borrow money.
You see, okay, I get your point. I don't know whether a senator earns 50,000 this in pounds.
I'll find the link.
A month. I'm not sure that is actually accurate.
I'll find the link and post it in the chat.
However, if you don't borrow to invest, you don't even have to borrow. Just commission a foreign company to come and build something and say, okay, when you make your money out of whatever you've invested in, then we take over running these institutions from you. There are companies that can do that. And you see, but when you tell Nigerians to do something like this, they will say, no, you're about to sell us again. They don't trust their politicians for anything. And I can understand that too. But Nigeria has a very, very low debt debt ratio right now. GDP
low, but the revenue.
Oh my God, bro! I think you want to destroy Nigeria. It seems that that's your final goal.
What are you talking about?
Listen,
I'm serious, bro. I'm being real. I'm being 100% serious because I don't understand why you would say Nigeria's debt to whatever revenue ratio is low.
Yes, it's very low. You don't know.
Listen, let me explain that. Hold on. The debt to GDP is low, but the tax revenue is low also. In the U.S., they can take up to over 20% of GDP comes back to the government in taxes. In Nigeria, it's only 5%. So yeah, the debt to GDP is low, but government revenue is also very low, and it's dependent on oil. So if oil prices go down, that debt becomes unsustainable. That's the issue. You can't look at
let me make a simple analogy here. Let's say your next door neighbor goes out every day buying a truck to do deliveries. You know, he can carry multiple packages and everything to do deliveries. And you are busy using a bicycle to do that. When do you think, at what time do you think you'll catch up with your next door neighbor? What future are you looking forward to catching up with that next door neighbor? I don't think Nigeria, we are driving on a slow track right now. We have been doing that for a very long time. And all the frustration that Wahala has raised is born out of that. It's born out of the fact that there are big boys out there doing big things. and we are just moving on a slow track. And this is why every Nigerian, they leave Nigeria and they go and start shining everywhere else, using sophisticated tools, working in big institutions and all the rest of it. Why don't we have them in Nigeria? The reason why we don't have them, because we're not spending on ourselves.
And that's because of corruption.
It's not corruption. At this point, it's not even necessarily corruption. The way the government's budget is set up, too much of the revenue is going to salaries, meaningless expenses like furniture and Aso Rock, cars for senators. That's not corruption. That's actually legal. That's the problem. The fundamental structure of the government is broken. The money is going to the wrong places. And with the budget that we have now, if they could cut salaries and furniture and cars and all of that, we would have enough money to spend on ourselves, as you say. But the money is being allocated in the wrong way.
Let me put it this way. Even if you take all the salaries that they are paying everybody in Nigeria, it's not going to make a dent. It's not going to make a dent at all.
Do you see the link I posted in the chat from the BBC?
Yes, I will check it out.
Yeah, it says Nigerian senators make $37.5 thousand.
Please, guys, I have to leave. I have to leave.
Well, after Walla, go ahead. After Walla, go ahead with your closing statement.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to cut you off, Willie. I have to leave, man. It was nice chopping it up with you guys, but I need you guys to realize that we can't afford to give anybody any excuse after 60 years of independence.
Amen.
It doesn't make any sense. There is no excuses. We have to move forward. We are morally obligated to do it. And if it's by revolution, if it's by a continuous protest, then that so be it. And this is the best chance that we have. So I thank you guys for your contribution. Thank you so much, Diana Amir. God bless you, my good brother.
Thank you. Adabo.
Yes, sir. Odabo.
Yeah. According to the BBC, they make $37.5 thousand in expenses alone. That's expense allocations alone. That's not even including their salary.
See,
So,
let me explain this to you. Even if you take all the salaries the Nigerians are earning, it's not going to get us out of the hole we are in. Let me tell you how much the UK spent on COVID-19 response alone. We are not talking about national debt, just COVID-19 alone. $300 billion. Pounds, not dollars, even higher in dollars. Guess how much Nigeria's debt is? Entire debt, 28 billion or so dollars. So can you see that this is doing more damage to Nigeria than an army can ever do? Because we are driving on a slow track while the whole world is on a totally fast lane. And Nigerians are frustrated. They don't know why they are frustrated. These are the things that are leading to such frustrations.
Look, we cannot run a budget deficit when the economy is not growing. Like Zambia just is about to default on its debt. That's way worse than, look, I don't know why African countries just continually rack up debt. We've been bailed out before and we're making the same mistake, racking up debt without growth.
See, it's a game that they play with us. They play this game with us to make us think that we should be playing chicken and spending pennies. When in reality, how are you supposed to grow your economy when you want to buy sophisticated tools, you want to buy sophisticated aircraft, or you want to develop sophisticated stuff? You need access to sophisticated technology. You need access to sophisticated people.
I'm trying to understand. Are you saying that Nigeria needs more loans? Is that what you're saying? That we need to go into more debt?
No, let me tell you something. All the countries that we like to be, all the countries Nigerians say they want to be like, owe more money. Why? Why? Somebody answer me that question. Riddle me that.
Well, ask again. What did you say? Ask again. What was your question?
Every country that we like to be, we want to be like the UK, we want to be like the US, we want to be like South Africa, we want to be like China. Yeah, they all owe more money than we do in terms of their income and their spending.
The Nigerian colonial government took over did not run a single deficit. they pulled in more money than they spent every single year. So that is not how the British ran their country when it was young. That is not how the Americans ran their country when it was young. They believed in spending less than you make. They didn't run budget deficits. Now that they're wealthy and they have very low interest rates. I mean, I'm pretty sure in Europe the interest rate is below zero. So borrowing money is free. In Nigeria, if we borrow money, the interest rate will be much higher because there's a higher risk of default.
On the contrary,
with unsustainable interest payments.
On the contrary, the money that Nigeria is borrowing, it's not for consumption, it's for infrastructure. Go to the southeast. This government is building the second Niger bridge. Go to the south, the train line from Itakwe to Warri that has been moribund for about 30 years. They have completed it. From Lagos to Ibadan. They are almost completed. They've almost completed that track, and it's going to be functional by the end of this year. So, I mean, I'm going to correct that notion. Nigeria right now is not borrowing. It's not borrowing for consumption. What they are borrowing is for infrastructure. And I'm going to tell you, in the last 40 years, this government, the government of Buhari, has built more infrastructure in Nigeria than any other government before this government. Since they returned back to democratic practices in Nigeria, Buhari has built more infrastructures. You have to get the facts right.
I'm not. His infrastructure spending is good. I'll admit that. But you guys need to look at what happened in Lebanon. Government, if things go left and this debt leads to a currency crisis, we could enter mass starvation. That's what you guys have. Yes,
the problem is
debt.
You keep freezing up, Trey.
That's it.
Excessive debt undermines the stability of a currency. And if the currency crashes in a country that imports 90% of its food, that would be mass starvation. What we need to focus on is dropping spending, not borrowing more money. 50% of the budget goes to recurring expenditure. That means salaries.
50% doesn't go to recurring expenditure.
Okay, well, let me get another link.
Maybe you say 50% debt servicing, but not recurring expenditure.
Did you just say debt servicing? Did you just say debt servicing? Okay, exactly. Interest expense. If 50% of our government revenue is already going to debt expense, why would you want more debt?
Well, let me tell you something.
Hello, why you want to get some more funds is, for one, Nigeria doesn't owe a lot. It's 17% debt to GDP ratio. So, and you also want to borrow to invest so that you can now start generating more income for yourself as an economy. Because how are you supposed to generate income? Our problem is that we are not generating income. Only Nollywood and maybe our music industry is generating income for Nigeria.
That's wrong. The banking sector is generating billions. Cement is generating billions.
Who?
The banking sector. Thanks.
Oh yes, that's true. That's you're accurate there.
Cement is generating billions. Flour mills.
The agriculture sector is really doing very fine right now. We are the largest producer of rice in Africa right now. And this happened under the administration and the government of Buhari. You know, okay, the yields have been a little bit low this year because of the flood that happened. But last year, the tonnage of rice that have been produced in Nigeria is like we are #1 rice producer right now in all over Africa. So I mean, we should cut this government some slack, you know. Everybody wants everything. Everybody wants everything to happen so fast, but things doesn't happen that way. For a system that has
What are you
been
talking about?
degenerated for
Listen,
years.
since Nigeria became independent, Japan has gone from third world to first world. Korea has gone from third world to first world. China is on its way to being first world. Even North Africa and the Middle East have gone from third world to middle income. We're moving at a snail's pace, and you're making excuses for it.
Why
This
do
is
you think
insane.
that is the case? This is the point. This is exactly the point. You are asking the right question, but you are not looking at the solutions. We are spending too little. We are playing little boys game when the whole world is moving on. I couldn't believe when they told me that Buhari was looking to buy some aircraft from America, and when I saw the aircraft, I was like, are we going to fight in World War II? What was that? We have to start going for the top notch stuff. We can't be trading our destiny constantly. So I understand your reservations about that, but in the end, all the other countries we like to envy, like you just described just now, owe a lot more than Nigeria.
You are delusional. The United States pays 0% interest on its debt. What do you not understand about that? They pay 0% interest. We pay 11% interest.
How
Our
about
budget is
China?
already the biggest item in Nigeria's budget is debt servicing, the interest expense on the debt we already owe. The second biggest is recurring expenditure for salaries and other bullshit. Spending more is not the issue here. The issue is cutting back on all this brainless spending that we are doing on stuff that does not help the country. And focus on the fact that our debt it's expensive. The interest expense is much higher than in developed countries that you keep comparing us to.
Why do you think our interest is high? It's like every bank.
The interest is high because the risk of default is high. The government, I mean, this is not a stable economy. When half of your government's revenue comes from oil, which is something that can fluctuate, you know, that revenue that Nigeria is bringing in, it's not guaranteed. So when lenders look at that, they see default risk, and I can't blame them because there is default risk. Chinese loans are better. They are at concessionary interest rates. I support Chinese loans. I know that's a controversial point, but the Chinese loans are at much lower interest rates because they're government to government, and they're not really worried about default. But private Euro bonds are at double-digit interest rates. Nigeria denominated Naira bonds are at double-digit interest rates. That is bad debt.
All right, guys, make sure you hit that like button again. Make sure you guys hit that like button. We'll continue for about another 20 minutes, and we'll go ahead and close out. But guys, hit that like button. Also, too, we're going to Sierra Leone April 21st to the 30th, and April 21st to the 30th, we are going to Sierra Leone. If you want to join us, hit me up, send me a message. Go to searchforahuru.com and reach out to me. All right, go ahead, Faye. Go ahead, Faye.
Okay. The problem is if you don't build your infrastructure, you cannot generate funds. If you don't have electricity, if your roads are not good, if you don't got the railway up and running, if you don't got the aviation sector up and running, if your agricultural sector is down, there's no way you're gonna make money. And right now, Nigeria does not have that money. The only thing and the wisest thing they can do is like borrow. So, yeah, and when you get all this stuff up and running, then you can talk about revenue generation. The president said in the last budget that he read, I think it was sometimes earlier this week or Thursday last week, I think that was, he said, We have a problem in revenue generation. He owned up to it. But without your infrastructures, if you don't get them up and running, if the roads are bad, you can't get goods from the interland down, you cannot export, you can't do anything, you cannot generate revenue. And if you say the government should not borrow, Nigerians don't pay tax. Nigerians don't really pay tax. How many
That's actually true. If you one of the
if you don't borrow, you ain't going nowhere. You're going to remain moribund for years and years to come, and the economy is never going to grow. That's just a simple logic of it.
why are you guys scared to address the fact that Nigerian government senators are making too much money? Why can't you address that? Why would you rather jump to borrowing instead of cutting out useless expenditures?
From my understanding, William, I could be wrong. They make that amount of money, but that money's supposed to be allocated to their employees. Now, is it allocated to their employees? I don't know.
That's
But
true. That's true. And some of it is like I've actually been in the House of Reps building. There's a lot of useless employees there that are just collecting checks to sit around do nothing. That's a big part of it. But at the end of the day, all that means is that the government is inefficient and it needs to be streamlined. And that's what we should be focusing on instead of piling on more debt. I'm just want Faye and Tunija, why are you guys not addressing the expenditure? Why would you rather leapfrog to borrowing more instead of addressing the expenditure?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the reason why I thought I addressed it before is because even if you save all that money, it's not going to make a dent in the real issues facing the country. Because if you have a bigger problem, you have to focus on the big one before you worry about the smaller issues. I understand the issues, about the debt. There must be a reason why they've done what they've done. Partly, has to do with corruption. So, but that said, we have to focus on what really, really matters. Because if we don't focus on the fact that Nigeria, we are not spending enough for amenities, we are not paying tax. Tax is the backbone of all civilizations. No exception. Without tax, no civilization. It's that simple. We don't pay tax. Then we pay very little for everything. Everything is cheaper in Nigeria than in Ghana. So how are we supposed to get ourselves out of the muck we are in if we keep doing this? We keep blaming the government. We keep saying it's corruption. It's just what is doing more damage is the fact that we are on a slow lane. We have to change our track.
One thing that we all agree on, I think, is that the fuel subsidy needs to go. Do we all agree on that?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know enough. I don't know enough about it. The full subsidy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, apparently Nigeria spent more on the fuel subsidy than on education and healthcare combined. So that was a terrible policy. And that's what we probably should be focusing on more instead of just borrowing money for so-called infrastructure.
Okay, let me give you an example, of what
the fuel subsidy is gone already.
So let me just explain something. If the government wanted to help the country, one of the things they could do is, okay, we want to improve the healthcare system. Okay, let's get our Nigerian doctors from overseas, bring them to Nigeria. Let's get some funds, get sophisticated equipment, equip the hospitals, and start treating people there. There are a lot of Nigerians that go to Dubai. There are a lot of Nigerians that travel overseas for treatment. They will all start getting treatment in Nigeria. And we may even start attracting people into Nigeria to pay us for healthcare too. We have doctors that's all over the United States. We have more doctors in the United States probably than we have in Nigeria. So there are so many things that we can do to improve things in Nigeria that is not being done. This is where I think leadership comes in. But we have to always, we will need funds. We may not need funds, we may just need the equipments themselves, so that when the whoever provides the equipment recoup their income, then we own the items. There are different ways you can get a decent investment into your country, but we have to start doing those things without fearing that, oh, the country is going to be sold off. What country is going to be sold off? Nigerians are not staying in Nigeria. If they have the option, they'll travel overseas to go and use those equipments overseas. And where those governments have borrowed, they've borrowed like crazy to have those things.
Well, also, it's not the government's job to do everything. Things actually get done better when the free market and private sector does it. The Nigerian government tried for so many years to make the refineries work, and it failed. Same thing with the airline industry, same thing with the shipping industry. Everything the Nigerian government has touched, it has messed up and failed. So instead of looking for the government to keep solving problems, what the government should do is just be a referee and create an enabling environment for free market entrepreneurs like Dangote, Rabiu, and others to solve these issues instead of trying to solve it directly.
Keyword: enabling environment. And that enabling environment involves paying the right amount for energy, paying the right amount for healthcare, paying the right amount for all the other services. Do you know what will happen when that happens? You don't need to invite investors. They will run into Nigeria to come and invest because they want to make money.
Yep.
That is how the world works.
So we actually do agree on quite a bit. I do not believe in subsidies for anything. Don't subsidize oil. Don't subsidize electricity. Let the free market determine the price, and then the free market will solve the problem. The electricity tariff should be cost reflective, and that will invite free market investment. I agree with you 100% on that.
Perfect. This conversation is getting quite productive. You see, we are not all dogmatic. You see these things. So let's hope that you see, this is how I like conversations to go, because we are not all correct. And you see, so the moment you mentioned that enabling environment, that was how I was able to reach you from your point of view. And I agree with you with your concerns that the politicians are spending a lot of money. Believe you me, Nigerians hate them more than I know your passion, but Nigerians hate that too, and they want to trim that down. But from my point of view, as somebody that I'm actually investing in Nigeria myself, even if I'm based overseas, well, I actually believe that if we don't solve these problems, it's funny because Nigerians don't see it. It's the kind of stuff that you don't see that kills you. It's the kind of stuff that you don't see that kills you. And we need to start letting our people know these things now so that they can know that, okay, this is where our problem is. So that when it's a leader comes up and says, oh, this is what we need to do, we will understand what they're talking about. Right now, if you tell them that we want to increase fare by 5 naira, what the hell is going to break loose in Nigeria?
Yeah, and that's the problem. We should become used to the free market determining fuel prices. If the free market will give you the right price, just like in the U.S. The government doesn't control fuel prices here. They let the free market determine it. People don't complain because we accept that. Nigerians need to grow to accept that the free market determines prices, not the government. That's actually an overhang from socialism, price controls, and all of that. That's something that needs to be done away with in Africa.
Yeah. And I can tell you now, if you go to Nigeria and say that on the street right now, you could get your head bashed. There are a lot of people that will say, how dare you come and tell us you are living overseas, enjoy yourself, and you are coming here to say that you increase price of anything at all. But it is the truth. Sometimes difficult decisions have to be made.
Yeah. Well, do you think that the government will be able to get away with this, or if they will buckle under the pressure from the population?
I hope they buckle. I really hope they buckle, because if they don't, that is not a very good sign for the country. Well, I don't want Nigeria to become unstable. It's a terrible. It will be a terrible situation. So I hope they buckle. They give some ground, reasonable ground, and at the same time try to ensure that this doesn't repeat itself very often, because sometimes you know, when you keep introducing instability into the country, what would the investors be thinking? They'll be thinking, okay, oh, I'm not sure I want to go in there. I don't know what's going to happen next. So there are changes happening in Nigeria now. It's just that it's happening too slowly for people to see. But for someone like me that goes out and returns back later on, and I see improvements, Nigerians don't see that. Like fuel scarcity now is gone. Most people don't talk about fuel scarcity anymore. There was a time you go to petrol stations, the queue is a mile long, but all that is gone. So the solutions are coming through, and there's a refinery that is due to be opened this month in Nigeria. There, so these things are happening slowly. Train stations are rails are being built across the country. So there's a lot of like Faye said, there's a lot of infrastructure construction that is going on in Nigeria. In Abuja airport, everywhere you go, it's like a building site.
Well, the reason why people are not feeling the change is because the population is growing faster than the economy. While the infrastructure is getting better, people are not getting as much jobs as before. The currency is collapsing. That's a big problem. The currency keeps going down. So people are just finding it harder to live. And infrastructure doesn't really solve that problem. I'm hoping that the refinery industry, which is really an industry, Dangote is building 650,000, Rabi is building 200,000. There's at least 5 small-scale refineries that will add another 300,000 on top of that. So Nigeria will not only be sufficient in refined petroleum, will actually be exporting it and bringing in foreign currency, which could help stabilize our currency. So within 5 years, I think a lot of these issues will be solved. I hope, anyway.
Fingers crossed. All these things are all the things Nigerians are complaining about. I get a feeling that in 10 years' time, as long as we don't lose our mind in the process, all these things are going to be resolved. And we don't see the changes clearly, but I do see the changes that are happening on the ground, and I believe that Nigeria is very, very well primed to have a good leader. If Nigeria has a good leader after Buhari,
10 years is even,
you know, he gives them a matching order. Nigerians
10 years is even too long. 10 years is even.
Go ahead.
10 years is too long. Yeah, 10.
I use 10 years because I'm also counting
on. You're talking about infrastructures. I'm gonna tell you how I'm going to tell you how infrastructures is going to help build the economy of Nigeria. Let me tell you, people in the hinterland, they get things cheaper than the people in the cities. And if you can create a logistic that's going to move goods from the hinterland, from the countryside, down to the cities, things are going to be a lot cheaper. That's how infrastructures is going to help ameliorate the suffering of the people. Nigerians, they only need to be a little bit patient, because a system that has been dysfunctional for years, it won't take you 3 years or 4 years of Buhari to fix it. It's going to take you a whole long time to fix it. So gradually, we're going to get there. One thing I'm going to advise my brothers and sisters from Nigeria is that they should be a little bit patient, you know, and if they are a little bit patient, things are going to be okay. I support them for wanting to end the brutality of the police and all that. The president had said, okay, we're going to give in, we're going to reform the police, and they should just give them that chance to be able to do things right. And in conclusion, I must say, be you Yoruba, be you Hausa, be you Igbo, together we are strong. Together we are going to be very strong. We're going to face the world being together than being apart. So you people agitating for Oduduwa Republic, the ones agitating for Biafra, or the Iowa people. I just want us to be one with 200 million people. We are the giant of Africa, and if we break into pieces, we're not going to be able to get where we are destined to be.
I would like to second the call for patience, and I think it's quite important um, because I believe that there are changes coming down the pipeline. In terms of the continent-wide changes that are going to affect Nigerians, that too is happening. That is even independent of Nigerian leadership. So if Nigerians are patient, they will start seeing the changes. And I actually believe when they start seeing changes on the ground, they are confident. The confidence in their leadership, the leaders, will increase. An example of this is like in China now. The leaders are not exactly that beloved, but because they are delivering for their people, the people are a bit more forgiving of them. That they can trade off some freedoms to get some of these benefits that these leaders are providing them. So I believe when things start improving on the ground, confidence in our leaders will improve. Because right now, when people talk, they say, okay, to hell with all of them. But there are a lot of people doing a lot of good work there too. That is being dismissed. Actually, there are more people doing good work than the ones doing, that are not there contributing positively. And you see, so I would definitely like to second that the Nigerians should really be patient because there is a tide coming through, including the ones coming from the diaspora and the ones coming from the continent.
All right, Willie, go ahead and close out, Willie.
Yeah, so I support the protest 100%, and I think it should continue and accelerate. I'm not really on the bandwagon of being patient. Development is not something that should take a long time. A country can go from third world to middle income and develop within 10 to 20 years. So there's no reason why Nigerians should condition ourselves to wait a lifetime for this. But what I will say is that in the near term, there is a lot of good things coming down the pipeline. And it's not coming from the government. It's coming from the private sector. Dangote's refinery, the banking industry, some of the investments in agriculture that the government enabled, but the private sector really brought it to fruition with the rice. They're working on cultivating over 100,000 hectares of sugar cane land. That's great. And tomatoes, there's a tomato factory coming online in the north. And so there's a lot of good things coming in Nigeria, not from the government, but from the private sector. And I believe that is what's going to take us forward.
And this is why patience is calls for, because if we are not patient, we will thwart all that good work that's coming through. And
We
this
will accelerate it. I think we'll accelerate it.
You think so?
Yep.
Given events around the world, you think that is very likely? Recent events around the world.
Well, there is a risk that the military will get involved in this protest. So that is a risk. I'll give you that. But I feel that from a security standpoint and an instability standpoint, Nigeria is not really a stable country as it is. So we're not going to chase away international investors because we're just not getting that many. I mean, not Ghana, which is a tiny country, and Rwanda, which is another tiny country, they get more international investment than Nigeria. So we're at rock bottom as far as foreign investment is concerned. It can't get much worse.
Two Nigel, respond and then we'll close out.
Okay. I agree with you that the Ghanaians get more investment, and because they've enjoyed the dividends of peace. Ghana has never had a civil war. They are basically the only country in West Africa that has never had a civil war. And thanks to Rawlings, by the way, not that they would like to acknowledge that. But from the point of view of Nigeria right now, because of the good things that people are doing on the ground, a lot of, like from what you said, the private sector they are doing, we need to nurture it. Because if you say we are going to, create a revolution and make things move faster, that doesn't bear that it doesn't bear from events in recent history. When nations do this, what you tend to see is that they go backward. That is what tends to happen. So this is why I'm urging caution and patience, because there are poor people all over the world. There's hardship all over the world, and now this hardship is about to lift, and it's lifting slowly. So let's just be patient.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, family, Dynasty Search for Rule. And for April 21st to the 30th, if you have any questions, email me. Send me an email. If you have any questions in regards to the tour to Sierra Leone, April 21st to the 30th. Until next time, family, Dynasty Search for Rule. Peace.
Peace.